past year, the work that Senator Bergen and I have done in having conversations with superintendents, the Granville superintendent and Brunswick County superintendent have identified a decrease in bullying, as well as a decrease in bad behavior for schools as a result of putting these policies in place, and just want to commend the sponsors for this legislation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a motion from Senator McInnes for a favorable report on Senate Bill 55, student use of wireless communication devices. All in favor will please say aye. Aye. And opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Senator Lee, going to run this on the floor? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Senate Bill 125, reorganization of Chapter 11 or 115D. Good morning. This is your first time here.
Yes, sir.
Be kind. Everyone, be kind. Here you go. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So Senate Bill 125 is simply a reorganization of Chapter 115D of the general statute that governs the North Carolina Community College system. It's really just a technical bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions for the bill presenter? Senator Todd Johnson. Is that worth $1?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to commend Senator Jones and on her brevity in Senate rules. Nice first start.
Thank you, Senator Jones. Any other questions or comments, Senator?
I just move for a favorable at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience care to speak on Senate Bill 115 or 125? Seeing none, we have a motion for a favorable report from Senator Warren Daniel, reorganization of Chapter 115D. All in favor will please say aye. And opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Our pages have shown up, and thank you so much. We have Sammy Salkin and Riley Collins with us today. Would you stand if you're here?
I don't think it made it in.
Oh, they hadn't made it through the back door, so. There you go. We'll try again. It's okay. Senate Bill 133, NCCC, Learning Management System. Senator Lee, you came back and are busy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Senate Bill 133 essentially requires the community colleges to either have a request for information or a request for a proposal for a learning management system across all the schools. The idea is that also it will align to the K-12 learning management system as well as the UNC system. One additional provision in the bill also exempts the community college system from utilizing DIT. It's an opt-in, not an opt-out, so they still have the ability to utilize their cybersecurity and other services. Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Lee. Do we have questions or comments from members of the committee? Does anyone in the public care to speak? Seeing none, we have a motion for a favorable report from Senator Todd Johnson on Senate Bill 133, NCCCS Learning Management System. All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Senator Lee. Senate Bill 58, AG Restrict Challenges to Presidential EOs. Senator Moffitt, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Morning, members of the committee. Senate Bill 58 is fairly straightforward. What it would do is prohibit the Attorney General from advancing any argument or taking any action in an effort to invalidate an executive order issued by the President. Stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Members of the committee, Senator Chaudhry.
This one's hard to resist, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions. So, Senator Moffitt, I know there have been probably some hypotheticals posed to you from the committee yesterday, which I'm not a part of. But let's just say the president issued an executive order that was anti-sweet potato. Would we not want the state attorney general to litigate that executive order?
Thank you, Senator Chaudhry. I appreciate the hypothetical. If, in fact, that was to happen, I feel fairly confident the General Assembly could rise to the occasion and direct the Attorney General to take action against the President.
Follow, Mr. Chair. So that's, I guess you've answered the second part of my question. The Attorney General would be directed by the General Assembly as to when he or she could litigate an executive order. Is that correct?
Certainly within our purview, yes, sir.
Okay. Last question, Mr. Chair. So Senator Moffett, so one thing I am curious about is if we were to leave the politics aside and just think about the economic impact the executive order would have, particularly on the research and development funding of our universities. So as an example, North Carolina State University has put a hiring freeze because of what we see with the executive order. I mean, it seems to me that the Attorney General is actually standing up to protect our universities so that we have a competitive advantage compared to other states. So I think while there may be a disagreement with whether he can do this or not, I mean, it does seem to me that he's siding with our universities and giving us a competitive advantage.
Thank you, Senator Chaudhry. Honestly, I think it's too soon to really predict what the outcome of that particular executive order is going to have downstream. And although I appreciate the basis of the argument, I think it's premature and certainly not sufficient enough to stop this effort.
One last comment I will make. This is a little bit of roundabout. So if the Attorney General is actually fighting to prevent cuts in federal funding, which would actually help us pass a budget without significant cuts, I mean, in some ways, he's better positioning you all to provide tax cuts in some ways than not. So I'm just trying to think about the interplay between what's happening at the federal funding level and how it impacts our state budget.
Further questions or comments? Senator Solomon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask this question just candidly, sort of know what the answer is going to be, and just so the narrative that's going to be told out of this committee on this bill isn't limited. But, and this might be a question better for staff or somebody else, but is there anything in this bill that would restrict, in Senator Chaudhry's hypothetical, the Sweet Potato Commission or another interested party from having standing to challenge that executive order?
Thank you, Senator Sorry. It would not restrict their standing.
So it's my understanding this would only restrict the state's attorney general from taking that particular action, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from the committee? Senator Mayfield.
So again, I'm picking up on Senator Chaudhry's line of reasoning here. So there are, I don't know, dozens of lawsuits against the president's executive orders. Our attorney general has participated in 4 of those. So I think it's a percentage under 5%. In at least 2 of those cases, our attorney general is doing exactly what I think we all want an attorney general to do, which is represent the people of this state in protecting the jobs and the economy of this state. And you can say that we don't know what the outcome of that, of these executive orders is going to be, but we do know that billions, am I right in saying billions of federal dollars, if the NIH freeze remains in place, would not be coming to North Carolina for research. That has to represent hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs in our universities. Our universities are obviously very concerned about this. So I guess I'm just puzzled about what it is that we don't like about what our attorney general is doing to help protect the jobs and the economy, to defend, which is his job, defend attacks on the jobs and the economy in North Carolina. What do we not like about that?
I'm not sure that I agree with your proposition. I don't think it's the Attorney General's role specifically to protect jobs and the economy in North Carolina. Jobs and the economy are constantly in flux. I think that if folks are receiving taxpayer dollars through one source or another as a component of their job or their job security, then they need to be prepared for those inevitabilities, like we do in the private sector, that money could go away. Now, when it comes to the world of pharmaceutical and biotech, there are hundreds of billions of dollars, private dollars, that are placed into research every year. So to suggest that the funding source would dry up, would end those jobs, I think is you're taking a guess that that would happen. I think there's plenty of money out there that would replace that.
Follow up?
Certainly.
Do we know, does staff know how much money we're talking about that is frozen and might get cut, or how many jobs we're talking about in our university system? Does anybody know?
Samantha, do you happen to have anything like that, or know someone on staff that would?
Okay, we don't know that. Okay. I guess when I say it's the Attorney General's job, it is the Attorney General's job to defend the interests of this state. And it is, regardless of how that income might get made up, that income is there right now. It does bring billions of dollars to the state. It does bring thousands of dollars, or create thousands of jobs in this state. And I don't think this body is prepared to make that up, for sure. My second question and final question is, the Attorney General is an independently elected office, constitutionally elected office. What happens if the Attorney General ignores this?
Is that rhetorical?
No, it's not. I mean, you can't impeach him. You can't impeach him. You can't call for a new election. What happens if the Attorney General ignores this?
Well, I could contemplate that the action that this body could take would be to take Chapter 114, Section 2, and just completely zero it out. And that way the Attorney General is a feckless, empty shell of a position that has no authority to do anything.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? We do have two people, I believe, that would like to speak on this, that I call pages, and you're not, but I'm like the anchor man. I read what's put in front of me. So we have two people that do have signed up to speak. Sammy Salkin first, and if you will come up to the mic, introduce yourself. Please tell us who you represent, and the Sergeant at Arms staff will assist you. And you have the floor, ma'am.
I'm from the ACLU of North Carolina.
Is your mic on, ma'am?
I don't.
Or you can pull it down. Yeah, we're not
Very
hearing
short.
you, some of
Okay.
the members. Hey, you're karaoke.
Rayla
got it.
Collins, the ACLU of North Carolina. The Attorney General is duty bound to uphold the Constitution. They're duty bound both as a lawyer and in their oath of office. An Attorney General whose powers are understood largely through common law is often seen or explained as a lawyer for the people. A lawyer who will stand up and defend not one's individual rights, but stand for the rights of the people of that state. Their power comes from the people who elect them, and it is to be used to protect them. This past November, the people of North Carolina chose Jeff Jackson as their lawyer, trusting him to protect them through enforcement of constitutional laws, and to protect their constitutional freedoms and rights. For example, on January 20th, an executive order was issued that purported to end birthright citizenship as guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. This would have meant for the first time in over 150 years that North Carolinians born right here in our state would not be guaranteed citizenship. Our Attorney General, along with others, swiftly moved to challenge the constitutionality of the order, which was blocked. The judge noted that the order was blatantly unconstitutional. This was not an action as a policy weapon, but was an action to protect the rights of people born in our very state. If attorneys general, like ours, had not challenged the order, then people right here in North Carolina would have unlawfully been denied citizenship. By prohibiting the Attorney General from taking actions to protect North Carolinians' constitutional rights, this bill likely violates the AG's constitutional oath of office and their oath as a lawyer. It raises separation of powers concerns, and it hurts North Carolinians. I urge you to vote no on this bill.
Thank you. Further discussion from the committee? Seeing none, we have a motion from Senator Michael Lazar for a favorable report of Senate Bill 58, AG Restrict Challenge to President. EOs, all in favor will please say aye. Aye. And opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of
Thank
the
you.
committee.
Thank you, sir. Senate Bill 153, North Carolina Border Protection Act. Senator Buck Newton, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Before you take over, indulge me a moment, please. I do have another sheet in front of me. I'll read it properly this time. The Senate page list for February 24th through 27th. We have Richard Anthony from Concord. Morning, Richard, sponsored by Senator Newton. I don't know if that's B or P, but Concord, I'll assume P. Phoenix, Billy Dew from Willow Spring, Senator Grafstein, good morning again. And Maggie Holly from Lillington, Senator Bergen, good morning. I hope you all have had a good week. We have certainly enjoyed having you and hope to see you back here someday. So, Senate Bill 153, Senator Buck Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. It's nice to be back at Rules. This bill is a very important bill. I won't belabor it with all the hyperbole on it. This is the next step that the state needs to take to help support President Trump's efforts to curb illegal immigration. This bill does four basic things. Basically, it requires state agencies like Department of Public Safety, SBI, et cetera, to enter into MOUs with ICE to deal with illegal immigrants, much as we did with House Bill 10 with sheriffs last year. This also mandates that OSBM do a search and look through how we're spending money on public benefits to make sure that public benefits aren't improperly going to illegal immigrants and that it's only going to those who are eligible. It mandates that the UNC system not undertake any sanctuary type policies and resist any efforts by ICE to improperly resist any efforts by ICE to deal with illegal immigration. And lastly, it waives sovereign immunity for municipalities and counties and localities that implement sanctuary city policies. So if you have an example of like a Lincoln Riley example, the city or the county or the entity that undertook those policies that may have led to that type of a tragic event open themselves up to litigation. I'm happy to stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the committee, do we have questions or comments on Senate Bill 153? Does anyone in the audience care to speak? You did not sign up, sir, but if you will give us your name and let the Attorney General, the
Thank you so
help
much.
please.
My name is Mario.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. My name is Mario Alfaro, Policy Manager at Del Pueblo. Forcing state agencies and authorities to do the work of federal immigration agents is a violation of state autonomy, and instead of protecting the state citizens, it will create distrust and increase insecurity for everyone. These anti-immigrant policies will lead to economic losses for the state, especially in strategic sectors such as agriculture, construction, and manufacturing, where immigrant labor is vital. More than 50% of farm workers are immigrants. More than 35% of construction workers are immigrants. We urge legislators to support policies that protect immigrants and their contributions, not those that ignore or hide the fact that North Carolina's economy needs immigrant workers. Our organization rejects this anti-immigrant bill because it is unnecessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, we have a motion for, we have someone else? Thank you. In the future, if you come in and would like to speak, please sign up with the Sergeant at Arms staff so that, as we know, but I never want to deny the public a chance to have their piece. So if you will come forward and be assisted this time by the Sergeant at Arms staff, we will hear from you for a couple of minutes. Thank you, ma'am. Tell us who you are.
Thank you. I'm Sammy Salkin with the ACLU. Welcoming immigrants allows us to build more inclusive and resilient communities where everybody can contribute to and benefit from shared success. Hostile legislation like Senate Bill 153 is an attack on immigrant communities and an attempt to further the false narrative that immigrants are a drain on our public service system and pose a threat to public safety. Just like U.S. citizens, immigrants pay into our tax base and contribute billions of dollars each year, create jobs, and help fuel our economy. In North Carolina alone, undocumented immigrants contributed over $690 million in state and local taxes in 2022. But undocumented immigrants are prohibited by federal law from accessing most public services, even though their tax dollars help to fund them. This bill is likely to result in U.S. citizens having reduced access to essential services. Specifically, members of mixed status families might not make the distinction between eligible beneficiaries, such as a U.S.-born child, and an undocumented parent or sibling. This is likely to reduce benefit use among eligible U.S. citizens and lawfully present immigrants, increasing rates of hunger, housing instability, and poor health outcomes. Further, forcing law enforcement agencies to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement erodes the trust between immigrants and the protective services that they should be able to rely on. When police act as immigration agents, witnesses or victims of crime are less likely to report crimes and cooperate with police for fear of deportation, making all of us less safe. 287G agreements also lead to racial profiling of Black, brown, and immigrant communities and will likely result in numerous Fourth Amendment violations. Many law enforcement agencies oppose 287G agreements because enforcing immigration laws diverts resources from their priorities of building trust with communities and solving crimes. This bill is not about protecting our communities. It's about furthering an anti-immigrant agenda, no matter the cost. We urge you to vote no.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion from Senator Sawyer for a favorable report on Senate Bill 153, North Carolina Border Protection Act. All in favor will please say aye. And opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this morning's agenda. Thank you all for coming. The meeting is adjourned.